Welcome. We are back. The 2W podcast is back, and we are here not a long time, but we're here for a good time. Um, it is just an exciting time as we look into 2025. Lucas Welk, we are on episode 65. That's insanity.
Amazing, amazing, amazing. Brand new year, brand new look, brand new intro that I just seen. Looking good. 2W group. Exciting stuff.
Yeah, it really is, man. The podcast has been good to us. I think we talk a lot about a lot of great things. I know you're really on the strategy side, kind of moving, shaking and moving, doing some awesome stuff in the world of obviously automotive. But I think there's a lot of just in general topics that we can hit on the podcast, kind of coming from your expertise. But I do have to ask you before we get into this. Was your New Year's resolution to get in the gym? Did you get that like $5 or $10 a month special for the gym? Use it for 7 days, and are you already done?
No. I need to get back there. I haven't seen the inside of a gym in, I'd say, years. I don't even know what a gym looks like. I have no idea. I've heard about this concept that you should go to this place and you pay the money and you can torture yourself and whatever you do at the gym. But no, I have not seen the inside. And it's funny that you mentioned that because I had that conversation yesterday. We were talking about Gold's Gym and Anytime Fitness. And I'm thinking back literally like 15, 20 years ago when I did see the inside of these gyms and I was all eager to go. And I do say that to myself every week, but no, I have not indulged in that lately.
Did you kick smoking?
No, I definitely did not quit smoking either or drinking. No, probably more actually in the new year. No.
You know what I like to do is I like to kind of take January and try to say, okay, come on, man. We work hard, dude. At the end of the day, it's nice to have a beer. It's nice to have a bourbon. Like for Christ's sake, man, we're going to die anyways. And if it takes a year or 2 or 5 off my life when I'm shitting myself, who cares? I mean, periodically I'd like to have a beer as many people do. But I always try at the beginning of the year. I always try to just kind of keep it, I'm really going to kick drinking for a bit. Not going to have a drink in the evenings. And it only lasts ever for like a week.
No, yeah, I'm full of good intentions as well. And quite honestly, my mistake is, I know myself. I mean, I can't just have one. I mean, you probably got much more, what's the word? Resiliency than I do. But, once I have one, it's game over. Then I want 50. So I do avoid that, but not very well. As was the case last night. It might be a little bit slow today.
Well, I know, excuse me. I know, I mean, you live in the Philippines, obviously born and raised in Canada. I've spent many years out in the Asia and a lot of different places, but it's a different world when you're abroad. For me, at least, I had a whole nother gear inside me. I mean, like an animal came out of me when I was living abroad, just because it's different, like different regulations. Like, I don't know. I don't really know what it is or why.
Right.
But it just like, I remember like being out till like 4, 5, 6 in the morning, like the sun's coming up. I'm still in the bar. I'm like, good God. Like, and now granted, I was freaking 20 something years old. I just don't do that anymore, of course. But like being abroad, it was just a different, I don't know. It's a different feel. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, no, it's very funny. I mean, I speak to a lot of my friends and colleagues and stuff, let's say back in Canada and the US. And here, I mean, business is done over drinks. It's done in the nighttime. It's done being out with them, forming that sort of relationship. And, when I talk to people back in North America, they can't believe they're like, you're out 5 nights a week. You're staying out till 3 o'clock in the morning, at your age, going nuts. And they're like, well, we just don't do that. We've got a wife and the kids and, we've got all this at home. Well, you have the exact same thing over here. I've got kids obviously over here and, but yeah, it's a complete sort of different culture. It's completely reversed. It's much more of a nighttime drinking culture, one-on-one. And I learned that, especially in the Middle East, in Qatar, especially when I was there. And it's much more built on personal relationships there. And that's how you're building these relationships. Yeah. You're getting together for a drink. You're getting to know the person. And it takes time. It's 6 months. particularly, let's say, with the Arab community and stuff like that, it doesn't happen overnight, and it certainly doesn't happen via an email or a text message or any of that. They just don't respond to that, typically.
And let me ask you, like that kind of community, because yeah, I've never lived over there. Is it because cultural? Is it important that they tell you when it's time to go home?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, typically, I
You
mean,
know
you
what I
just
mean?
wouldn't say, I'm going to go out and have a beer and see you later type of thing.
Yeah.
Let's say if I'm speaking Qatar, obviously they're not into the alcohol, but they're into
Yeah.
the coffee. And it would be very, very common for them to ring you at 11 p.m., at nighttime when you're, sound in bed, sleeping, and saying, let's go to Bo's Coffee, for example, and, we're going to discuss some stuff over coffee. But certainly you wouldn't just go there, have a quick coffee and leave. You're going to be there until the discussion's over and you had a good time, and be quite
Yeah.
insulting, I think, if you just went there and left really quick and
Yeah.
or said no. And saying no, is, I learned very quickly, is a bad thing. You just kind of go with the flow. If you want to develop the relationship, you wake up at whatever time it takes, you spend as much time there as you can, but the bond becomes very strong, which I
Yeah.
appreciate. I like that.
Yeah.
Once you're friends and they can trust you and they know you, they will back you as far as you can go with them. But it takes a long time to develop that, for sure.
Well, it's interesting because my time, in South Korea, I was living there, and in Korean, the word Hongnim,
Mm,
uh, Hongnim translate to king of the table, right?
right,
And if you go and you study kind of, I'm not talking about study culture, but it's just an observation, and I got caught in it a lot, actually.
right,
Um, if you get into the culture and you go out for drinks, similar type of thing, the night does not end until Hongnim says it ends.
right,
If he
right,
wants to go to another bar, we're going to another bar. And what
right,
happens is all of Hongnim, the king of the table, he's typically the oldest, right? He's the oldest of the group. So he's the leader. He calls all the shots no matter what. But
yeah,
what happens is these people get pissed drunk.
right,
And it's like, and again, it's the Korean culture, and there's like,
yes,
you could totally like, hey, half your homies here, Hung, need to freaking go to bed, man. Like
right,
they're
right,
stumbling and rumbling, like they are not right. But
that's right,
he's just like, they're not leaving. Like they
right,
cannot leave. It's like they have the golden handcuffs. And
that's
so
right,
next thing you know,
that's right,
you have these groups of Korean men just
right,
stumbling down the street, and they're
right,
drunk because Hong
yeah,
Ni wants to fucking stay out. It's
right,
like,
yeah, yeah.
oh man, that's awesome.
Exactly. Yeah, no, it's great. No, it's really good. And even in Japan, in the Japanese culture, what I really appreciated, I don't know if you're familiar with sake, their
Mhm.
version of wine, that sort of thing. But
Yeah, very
what
much.
I learned very quick is, you've got your small little sake glasses and you go out for sake with, whoever that you're trying to do business with or become friends with, and you're sharing a bottle and you're pouring the sake for one another. And once your glass becomes empty, they have to serve you and you have to serve them. That's very respectful.
Uh-huh.
So that the glasses just never get empty, because either his glass is empty or your glass is empty. So then it's just more another bottle, another bottle, another bottle, until you're pissed out of your head. And but you're serving one another, and it's very old school, but it's very nice.
It's
He's
great.
kind of looking out for you, you're looking out for him. He's and I love the Japanese people. I think, out of everywhere I've went, they have been the most respectful, very, very kind, generous, just lovely, lovely people in
I
general.
agree.
Um,
I
just yeah,
I I've spent a lot of time in Japan.
trustworthy, hard workers.
I spent a lot of time in Japan.
Yep.
I fell in love with the women.
Right.
I
Right.
thought they
Right.
were
Right.
beautiful, man.
So
Like, I
yeah,
just thought they were
gorgeous.
so beautiful. Like, I
Yep.
remember walking in Japan, and so when we first got there, I didn't really know shit. Um, and we go into this, I thought it was like a not a hostel, kind of a hostel, to where you just it's a hotel or whatever. It's kind of in this whatever, and you put your bags in.
Yep.
So I go in and I get signed in, and I even walk into the room, and it's all dark and it's a little weird, but I don't know the culture, man. Maybe that's just how they roll.
Right.
And there's like a fucking seat or something in the corner or whatever, and then a bed, just all this stuff, right?
Right.
Drop my bags, zip out to the bar, hop into a bar. Next thing you know, it leads to another bar, go to dinner, another bar. Was out all night. Just was
Right.
came back, just I'm in Japan, baby. This is awesome.
Right.
The lady stops us before we go back in our room, and she said, "You pay us $287 right now and stay the night. I'm sorry, right now and leave." That's what it was. And go pick up your bag and leave. Or it was pay like $350 for the night and you
Right.
could sleep here one night. And
Right.
I was like, what the hell? I thought this thing was like $40 a night, or
Right. Right.
$30 a night. Like I'm, you know, and I
Right.
was shocked. And she would not let us back in the room until I either paid to 270, it was like $287, I remember.
Right.
And 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 then I just had to go get my bags and leave. And I was like, well, I gotta sleep somewhere. And
Right.
so I forced into it. And it turned out I incidentally checked into a sex hotel.
Oh, right. 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 I was gonna say, yeah, yeah, yep.
I I I'll
Interesting.
never
Right.
forget it, man.
Right. Right.
I
Whoops.
I I
Whoops.
incidentally checked myself into a sex hotel,
Right.
and
Right. Right.
which explains the seat and these like weird things, man. And I
Right.
was
Right.
like, dude, no way.
Right.
We checked her, but what we couldn't do
Right.
anything because it's like 3 or 4 in the morning, and we're like, we just gotta wake
Sure.
up and burn out of here, man.
Right.
And
Right. Right.
so I was like, man, I just gotta check behind the bed. I gotta see what's
Right.
behind the bed. I gotta pull up. Dude, I lifted
Right.
the I should have done it because it's kind of scarred my mind.
Yeah, I
And
was
man,
gonna say that's bad news.
dude, I look at it, dude, there's like 40 condoms, condom wrapper.
Right.
It's just disgusting, dude. I'm like,
Right.
dude, I'm literally in a
Whoops.
sex hotel right now. This is terrible. Like, I gotta go, man.
Correct. 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 Yeah. 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 Jeez. Jeez. Jeez.
I'll
No,
never
one thing
forget it.
I think we talked about before, even with the Japanese, and we talked, I think, briefly before on the podcast, is I mean, I've known lots of people here, and I had a bar, restaurant, and stuff like that here, but they're fiercely loyal and they're so
Yes.
focused. Like we said before, like, and this is probably talking a little bit old school Japanese, not the new sort of Japanese culture, but the old school way is, if you get hired in a company, number one, you're in that company. I mean, they look after you. If you're not doing, let's say, your specific role up to their standards, their needs, they will relocate you, find you somewhere else. It's not they're just going to fire you. Good luck. They really care, about your family, yourself, and they will find another role for you. And, if I use the example of, when you're a teenager, let's say if you're making sushi, the only thing you do, you specialize in making sushi. And it's the same thing here in Cebu. There's restaurants here with Japanese guys, and, they have chefs. But let's say the sushi chef, he makes sushi. The sushi chef does not make noodles. He doesn't make vegetables. He doesn't make, steaks. He doesn't make hamburgers or French fries. He only specializes in making sushi. That's it. His only, role in life and goal in life is to be the best sushi guy on the planet. And I think that's so important now, when we were talking before about, the rise of AI and all this sort of thing, how you can beat it and not get your role replaced. Well, with AI, you can really not get your role replaced if you're the best in your field, when it comes to that. And they really pride themselves on that because, that sushi guy, he's making sushi during the day, during the night, whenever he is. But on his off time, he's learning more ways how he can make better sushi than the day before. So every day his sushi is getting better. And that's it. That's all he has to focus on. His mind is not on anything else. Is not being the cashier, the waitress, the waiter, nothing. His
I
only
love the
job is that.
focus. I love the
Yeah, the
focus.
focus is key.
What's funny is, and I think the world can take a page out of their playbook because I think Japanese culture is fantastic, right? So clean and organized
Right.
and structured. But I was
Correct.
actually when I was there, I feel like we're kind of getting into this around the world talk with it. Who cares? It's kind of cool, actually.
Yep.
You don't travel. If anyone listening, you don't travel, go travel more, man. It's freaking awesome. Get in
Yep.
get in some hairy shit and you'll figure it out.
Right.
But like I was in Japan, I was talking to a guy and I can't recall how we somehow connected. And he says like to move to any other like in the culinary space, you got to be on rice for like fucking 3 to 5 years.
Right.
You cannot graduate to like the next phase or whatever the next progression is to like the master of whatever. He goes, you're
Right.
like on rice, dude. That's what you do. You're on rice. And he's
Right.
like, you don't even do anything else until you graduate into another aurora of your career, but you're on rice
Right.
for that's shocking. I'm like,
Right.
that's awesome though. That's
Right.
all you do is rice,
Right.
and the specialization is insane. I just remember that conversation so clearly.
Yep, yep. No, you're absolutely right. And I think it applies to anything. We talk about automotive parts and manufacturing and all this stuff. And I love seeing these companies that are just laser focused on the one product that they do. I can't remember the name of the company, but we spoke to a brake company. This would have been, I would say, let's say, geez, maybe 8 months ago.
Yeah.
But they were starting brand new. But I mean, they revolutionized brakes, but all they're focused on is brakes. That's it. We're not doing mufflers, we're not doing windshield wipers, we're not doing handles, we're doing brakes, and that's it. We're going to be the best brake company in the world. We're not manufacturing shit. We're not manufacturing cheap brakes. We're not manufacturing garbage. We are just going to manufacture good, expensive brakes. If that's what
Yeah,
you want
I
to call
recall
it.
that company. I'm trying to remember the name. I don't know why it's
Yeah,
slipping my mind. Yeah, they took the metal from medical devices and medical equipment,
right,
and I recall that it's incredibly hard. It's like I don't know, it's 100 times harder than regular like rotors, and they
right,
last 100,000 miles. Like they're like 100,000-mile rotor. I
right,
recall. Oh man, that's
right,
gonna bug me. I'll find that name.
right.
I'll figure that out.
Yeah.
But I agree.
And
I
I
think.
think, you know,
No, go ahead.
go ahead.
No,
Oh,
I
I
was
was
just
just
saying,
going to
but
say,
yeah, go ahead.
right. No, I was just going to say, it applies to everything. It really, not just, let's say, the corporate world or manufacturing, everything in life, really. I think if you can do a few things well, one thing well, maximum, let's say, two things really, really well at this day and age, you're going to get noticed. You're going to stand out, and that's the way to get noticed. Now, if you're just doing average work for an average company, using ChatGPT all the time, well, you're the same as everybody else.
Yeah.
Everybody's using ChatGPT now. Okay, fine,
ChatGPT's
that's
kind of
good.
it's becoming a
Um,
level playing field. I think
right,
it's funny, the more that you use ChatGPT, the more that you're just gonna sound like everybody.
that's right. No, exactly. And if you
Eh,
can come in there and really heighten your skills, whether it's through reading or whether it's through learning,
yeah,
and if you can really come in there and beat ChatGPT and say this is the way it is, and kind of come in there with a commanding force, that's when you're going to win. But if you're just average now, I would say
that's a
bye bye
really
to
good
your
point.
job. You
Because
know,
because
um,
if you're doing everything through, like, say, ChatGPT or some module, again, I understand that it's a help to help, kind of, help move things forward or help you kind of in certain ways.
mhm,
But if you start to get face to face with somebody who only uses like an AI helper,
yeah,
and you're confident and you know your shit, you can break them in seconds.
that's right.
You know what I'm
That's right.
saying? You can
Mm,
literally break them with your will, like break them with your
right.
eyes.
That's
Like,
right.
pretty quickly if you're talking about a subject matter, pretty quickly if that dude knows what he's talking about.
100%.
Like
100%.
like
Right.
he starts skating around all these little stupid words. He's not really too sure. He's acting like he follows along, but he really doesn't know what the fuck he's doing.
That's
Like
right.
those guys, if you're good and you're smart and you're
Right.
good, you can break them very quickly. And I think
100%.
that's going to be a big differentiator into the workforce, man.
Yep.
Our
Yep.
workforce is weaker. We're becoming a
Yeah.
weak workforce as a
Oh,
globally.
100%. And communication, I think that's kind of the new diamonds of, the world. If
Yes.
you're a good communicator, and I
Yes.
mean, how many meetings do we sit in on a week? And you hear people talking literally for 1 hour, and it's these, corporate CEOs, these vice presidents, directors, whatever they are. And they're talking very fancy. They look good. They're dressed in a beautiful suit and tie, saying all the right words. And we're going to do this. And we're going to do this. And we're going to do this. Nothing ever happens. And there's no actionable steps. At the end of the meeting, we're talking about millions of dollars and all this stuff. And at the end of the meeting, we kind of get off and you and I will have a chat. And we'll kind of say, well, that all sounds great, but how is that ever going to happen? Like, I don't even know what the next actionable step to do is realistically. But they're
Yeah.
talking a good game, but it's just talk, you know?
It's smoke,
So
dude. It's
yeah,
smoke. It's totally smoke,
right,
man.
right.
There's no like pull through. There's no like pull through like vision and action. Great leader, and I've noticed this, and great leaders kind of they speak less, but they create more clarity with the people around them.
Hmm.
You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yep.
That's a really powerful skill, man. And I
Yep.
think when we look in the world of everything that we do in general, speak less and create more clarity. That's like a skill that is almost like a dying breed, and I agree. I think people are so
right?
frail. Everyone's so
Yeah,
frail these days, man. Like, they're very scared.
that's right.
Scared to be confronted, scared of conflict, scared of working together. They don't know how to work within opposition. They don't know how to
That's
work
right.
with somebody they don't like, or they don't know how to work with somebody who maybe has offended them and they didn't even know they offended them. That's a
That's right.
really tough place to be as a society.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what the attraction is to, we go to work, we want to like our coworkers, obviously, but I mean, I don't go to work for people to like me. That's not my goal at the end of the day. I'm not saying I'm going to work to disrespect everybody, but I've got a job to do and I need to get that done. These people, if they turn out that they're going to be my friends, that's great. If they're not going to be my friends, well, that's fine too. But let's all work together. Even if I hate you, that's fine, but let's just get the job done. Let's work together to move the path along and forget the drama, forget this shit, but we're all moving in the same direction. That's the key thing.
My experience is that if there's a little bit of dislike or kind of like not discomfort, but like two people who I don't really care what you think of me,
Right.
uh, I find those to be very productive places. You're like,
For sure.
I really don't care. Like, I don't care if you drop dead tomorrow. I'll never talk to you. But we work together, and I find those to be very because they're just real, right? There, you get right
Right.
to the heart of the problem, and you're okay to argue, right? You can agree to disagree.
Yep.
Um, I found it interesting. I think I heard Elon Musk say this, and I hate to go back to him, but because everyone has their opinion on him, and I personally like the guy. I think he's a brilliant guy, but he
Hmm.
said, "I've never had." How did he say it? It was like, "I've never had fear or a care if I was liked."
Right.
That I thought
Right.
everybody we live in a society where I just wanna be liked, and I and
Yep.
I I feel that sometimes too, right? Like, I just wanna be people to think nicely of me or kindly of me or like, oh, like, and I kinda wanna get better at that, you know what I mean? Like,
Right.
less of, I don't care if you I just I don't have any care if I'm liked, right? I
Right.
think that's a very productive path. You can really
Yeah.
get stuff done.
It's a confidence thing, it's a mindset thing
Totally,
more than
man.
anything else.
Confidence.
That's all it is. It's all in your mind. And,
It's fortitude,
even
man. It's
right. Even with
guts.
2W Group, we want to be hiring people that we do, let's say, all the time, but we want to be hiring people that are coming in, taking names and kicking ass. That's what attracts me to people, not, if we're interviewing them, Gideon, or we're talking to them on the phone and they're agreeing with everything we say and they talk
Alright.
about increasing sales numbers and
Mhm.
all this sort of shit. What turns me on is getting on that phone call and then that person saying, look, you guys are fucking doing it all wrong. This is exactly where we need to go. We need to do this. Forget this. This is fucking garbage. Let's move into this. That's what I want to hear, because I don't know
100%.
everything. I know my little small field, but I don't know everything. But yeah, those people are very, very difficult to find.
No,
Um,
very hard. Well, they're talented people.
so,
They're
right,
very talented.
right. Yep,
Speaking of that type of model, man, Trump rolled in on January 20, man. He won the
he
fucking
did. He
thing,
is
man.
that man. But yeah, I'd
He
hire
is
him.
that guy, dude.
I'd,
He
I'd,
is
I'd
that
hire him for 2W. Yeah, yeah, no, 100%. And whether you
guy.
like him,
Oh,
you don't
for
like
sure.
him, he's doing what he said he was going to do. You know what I mean? He's
Yeah,
kicking ass in there. And I mean, whether you agree with it or not, you got to give the guy credit because he's going for it. At this point, he's got nothing to lose. He's not going to be up for reelection. And I don't believe that he's going to try, to change the rules for reelection as
oh,
some
God,
people
no.
think.
Are you kidding
But,
me? Yeah.
after
That's
this, I think he's done, but he's going to make it as a last hurrah and he doesn't give a shit.
yeah.
And I personally believe I like him. I think he's doing it for the benefit of the country. A lot of people say, he's doing it for his own personal good. Maybe he is to a certain extent. But I don't think beyond his
Well,
ego
that's
that
a
he
dumb
would go
statement,
through this hassle,
yeah, that's a dumb statement when you
the,
say, "Well, he's doing it for his personal ego."
so,
Well, let's just
right,
look back on the history, right? Every president came out a wealthier man,
right. Yeah,
right? I
of
mean,
course, they're doing book deals. They're doing,
yeah,
you
you
look
look at
afterwards, what
you
the
look at
Obamas,
yeah, you look at
yeah,
the Bidens, right? They're lifelong in public service. The Clintons are
right,
lifelong in public service.
right.
Um,
Like the Obamas, I think, I was reading somewhere, I think they only had, well, when I say only had, but I mean, let's say a couple hundred grand, if that. I mean, I think they were rather very poor when they came out of the White House. And now, I mean, they're multimillionaires, due to their book deals. And I'm not saying that's bad. I'd say go for it. That's great. I encourage that. Go
if there's
nuts. I'm not saying,
Barack Obama's worth 250 million.
now, yeah. But
250
let's
million, dude.
so right,
He only
right. I
made
mean,
400 and something thousand every year in president. So,
right,
like, you could argue that it took a enrichment campaign. Bill Clinton,
right,
left public service, he's worth 240 million, right?
right.
You look at, I mean, how about Biden just pardons his whole family?
So right, right, right.
Like, that just
Well,
you
as you
pardon your whole I mean, and I would pardon my
right,
family too. I'm not
right.
hating on it, but I'm
No,
just kind
no,
of like,
exactly.
he pardons
Yeah,
the January 6th committee. I thought they were there for the good cause, man.
so
I thought they weren't doing anything wrong. Why would you pardon them?
right, right. Yeah, 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 yeah. Now, I mean, again, I don't kind of blame him for that because Trump does, I think, have a good hate on for him, and
Oh, I
I
agree.
wouldn't trust him necessarily. So if
Well,
I
you
was
just
an
don't
ally
know.
of Biden, yeah, I'd be ringing him saying, "Hey, bud, I know you're going out of office soon. It's a little risky over here. Do you mind doing me a favor?"
Oh, I would make the call too. Well, the thing is with Trump, and I think what makes him very effective, is he is he's there's an unknown factor to him, right? There's
That's right,
you're just not sure. Like,
right,
okay, will he do that? Maybe
right.
he won't. I mean, and I think, you look at like the automotive industry just because it's a big outcry for like, Trump's, right? And it's like the automotive news, they say, tariffs, they'll hurt, they're not going to help the industry. Well, they're saying that like based on his words, right? And
Mhm.
I think a lot of it is he sets it up for leverage points. That's
Right,
kind of what I see, right?
right.
If you do X, there's no taxation. If you don't do X, there's taxation. It's your call,
Hmm.
right? So he's
Right,
very quick and he sets these up over a period of time from I see. And I think people read so much into it and they get all freaking intertwined into this crap. And then something else happens or whatever, but he does kind of get it. It's almost like a leverage point. Like
right,
he's really good at it. I mean, you just give
he's
the guy
great.
credit. He's really good at it.
Right,
He's fucking good at it. Like
right.
it was
And
like
I
there was a
think he's focusing on the U.S., which I think he needs to. And I mean, because everybody's looking at this other global economy, and I understand that it's a global economy now, and all this trade, and we're getting stuff from everywhere. But he's the president of the U.S. He's large part now kind of staying out of Russia, Ukraine, whatever side you think he might be on. But I mean, at the end of the day, that's really not our fight to fight. I mean, this is my own personal opinion. We can't be the watchdogs of the world. You look after Americans first. Once that's taken care of, you look at all these disasters and natural disasters and whatever that happens in the US and all these people that are displaced from their homes. And meanwhile, billions of dollars are going outside the US and nothing is being taken care of there and billions of dollars going outside. So, I completely agree with him, with that, with a strict focus on the US. Hey, I'm the president of the United States, not the president of China, not the president of Russia or Ukraine. And get involved there when you need to be involved there. But, keep on track.
I agree.
Um,
I think it's
yeah,
gonna be exciting to watch it. I feel
it's
like, and I've always tried to stay agnostic, right? I've voted both ways my whole
sure.
life.
Yep.
More conservative today, than ever, just because of the bullshit, man. Like,
Yeah.
bullshit. Like, God, geez, man, it's getting crazy.
Right.
Um, but I find it just interesting to see, what's gonna happen over the next few years and what happens into all the industries that, we focus on. I mean, from certainly automotive, I think you're starting to see all these EV rollbacks, right? You're seeing all of these government sanctions that occurred and they're turning over as losses, man. Their P&Ls
Right.
are up and down. You're seeing I mean, down to like Ford reimbursing dealers for EV charging installations, right?
Yep.
They should have to reimburse them because there should be the natural organic demand. Dealers should be coming to Ford and saying, "Yo, I want to buy 12 new EV stations. Why are they on back order?" Right?
Right.
So that
Right.
alone, it just tells you that that kind of initial mandate that we had from a political perspective was a failure.
Right.
And we'll see what happens, but I think we're gonna see some interesting times. I'm kind of intrigued to see what happens with China, the Panama Canal, whether the tariffs actually
Right.
make impact, maybe they positive, negative. Regardless, I know from my perspective, I like that shit's gonna get shaken up because this is a
Yep.
global economy. I don't care what you say. I mean, you grew up Canadian, and
Yep.
Canadians about to become the big brother to the USA, bitch.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Exactly.
No, I'm
Exactly.
kidding. A guy
Yeah.
actually was joking with a Canadian dude. I said, "Hey, what's the deal, man? I hear that you guys are gonna become a little bit of a little brother here, man." What
Right.
got all
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
got all
Right.
pissed
Yeah. Yeah.
off. I was like, "Yeah."
Right. Right. Well, we're moving the same way, following in suit now. Obviously, with the U.S., we've got the elections coming up this year in
Yeah.
Canada.
Well, what happened with
It's
Trudeau? Trudeau just bailed? Is that what the deal? He resigned or some
Yeah, he
shit, or what?
resigned. Well, he's going to lose this year anyway. I mean,
Is
realistically,
he? I
the
have no idea.
Conservative Party, yeah, 100%. So, I mean, I think he's about 10 years in office, let's say there now, or 9 or something like that.
Educate
But
me on that. Educate me on that. Is there not terms?
there's 4-year terms, but they can go forever and ever and ever. I mean, he could be prime minister till
Oh,
100
so
if he wants.
you can be the prime minister every
So
4 years. You're revoted in.
that's right.
Next thing,
That's right.
okay, so it's not like
Yeah. So he was
eight
voted
like
in 3 times, I believe.
oh,
Yeah, if I'm not
that's where the
mistaken.
10 years happens, and then he just resigned. So
Right.
you
Right.
have no cap on it. So
So
he could run again, and they vote him in, run again, and vote
sure.
him. Oh
Yeah.
wow. So that could
And a
almost
lot of times we do keep them a long time. I mean, let's say not for the most, well, for the most part, we try to keep it fairly, I think, consistent. If you look back
yeah,
over the years, that they
totally.
have had longer terms. But he's
Yeah.
liberal, obviously. He's far to the left, and now we're going to be shifting. I'd say a good 90% chance this year to conservative. And I
Wow.
believe the election. I don't even follow it, but I think it's in June, if I'm not
Wow.
mistaken. But he's much more Trump-esque.
Yeah.
And I think even the tariffs with Canada that he's threatening, I think it's February 1st, they're supposed to go, that they have till February 1st to comply. I think,
Mhm.
I applaud Trump for doing that because he's pushing the limits. And most certainly, I think once the conservative government comes in, we'll kind of fall in line with the US, and be much more friendly and whatnot. Relations will be much, much better
Yeah.
than versus now between June. He's going to have to put up with the liberal government, I think, until then. But
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. It's an interesting point. One thing I want to talk about the 2W podcast, man. We recently opened up the podcast to independent contributors, ICs.
yep. Yep.
And this is more just kind of thinking about where we're going. A lot of smart people. We've had a lot of folks reach out to us,
Yep.
and wanting to come on and also contribute their own insights into the industry. And I think, Lucas, when we first started this, it was all about improving the space we're in and
Yep.
bringing incredibly smart people sharing insights and kind of treating it as an open book. I know we have Ariel Loza. He's going to begin to contribute to the podcast independently.
Yep.
But anybody who potentially runs by this, if you're looking to for a platform that is pretty much turnkey and you can come in and be a voice, be your own voice, elevate your name, elevate your game, we would welcome you on to come on. And yeah, it's really becoming kind of an open source level platform, and I think that is what it was intended to do. But it's very exciting.
Right. No, I agree. And I'd love to see more people getting with a niche, you know what I mean? Like come
Mhm.
on and kind of take control of a certain area and, reach out to us and say, we specialize in AI. I'm just throwing out an
Yeah,
example because
absolutely.
that's the first one that came to mind. But
Yeah.
I'm going to do a podcast on 2W once per week. And every week is going to be a different topic on AI and how to improve, your business or how to apply it to your business. But I would love for people to reach out that have that niche expertise because that's really what our clients are asking for. All the messages and stuff we get, they're asking for more information on that stuff. So if you're in a niche market in the manufacturing, distribution, retail, e-tail, any of those industries, reach out to us because
But even more
we'd
than
love to have
automotive,
you on.
power
100%.
sports,
Yeah,
commercial, heavy duty. If you're even in,
absolutely.
textiles, construct, I think there's a lot of information to pull from other adjacent verticals. So,
Oh, 100%.
not only automotive, we really want to kind of take it forward in many different directions and let it
Correct.
almost become its own breathing entity.
Right.
Every day you're getting new content from a different a different producer, and you may gravitate to some, you may gravitate to others, but yeah, that's
Right.
kind of the intent.
Correct.
So But anyhow, man, this is awesome. Episode 65. This is the 2W podcast. As always, please like and subscribe. If you have any questions, comments, or even you want to give a shout out, you want to come on, reach out, let us know. We are the voice of the industries, I'd say. This is the 2W podcast.